welcome to the news at 7 on NTAi International. We are live in Abuja. I'm Lami Ali. Shegun Ajayi is the sign language interpreter. We begin with the headlines. Ghana shuts down its embassy in Washington, D.C. after a major corruption scandal involving visa and unauthorized payments. Federal government inaugurates renewed Hope Health Initiative projects. Plus, Speaker, House of Representatives withdraws compulsory voting bill, citing citizens' views. President Bola Tinubu will leave Abuja Tuesday for Lagos to celebrate, along with other leaders, the 50th anniversary of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The ECOWAS Golden Jubilee was flagged off in Accra last month. The Lagos events will include reenacting the 1975 declaration as the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs in Victoria Island. President Tinubu, the chairman of ECOWAS, will highlight the economic bloc's milestones. The chairman of the NIIA and former Minister of External Affairs, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, will review the bloc's 50-year journey, which panelists as the NIIA will later analyze. The only surviving head of state who signed the ECOWAS declaration, General Yakubu Gowon, retired, will participate in all the ceremonies and deliver a speech at the ECO hotels. Dr. Omar Touare, president of the ECOWAS Commission, will deliver the welcome address. In a statement, the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, says, while in Lagos, President Tinubu will on Saturday, May 31st, commission some projects of the administration. Among them are Section 1 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, Lekki Deep Sea Port Tax Credit Concrete Road, the flag-off of Section 2 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, and the 7th Axle Road. The president will virtually commission Kano Kanwar Denja Hadeja Section 2 Road and Yakase Zelli Road, and flag off the Kano Northern Bypass, Zaria Hongui Dabai Section 1, Dabai Kafur Malumfashi, and Malumfashi Daiyashe Gidan Mutan Section 3. President Tinubu will observe the Eid al-Kabir prayers at the State House, Dodon Barracks, before returning to Abuja. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim opened the 46th ASEAN Summit with a call for unity, warning that the bloc must stand firm in the face of rising global challenges, including U.S. tariffs. Kulo Mohammed tells us more.
Prime Minister Anwar welcomed leaders, including Sultan of Brunei, Hassan al-Bolkiah, and congratulated Singapore's newly elected Prime Minister Lawrence Wong. The Malaysian Prime Minister called the summit a moment of special significance, marking a decade since the Asian community was formed. He expressed confidence in the bloc's mission, stressing Asia's strategic importance in global affairs and improving lives within the region. He said, I strongly believe in the fortitude and staying power of ASEAN to withstand the headwinds and weather the storms. He also thanked his fellow leaders, noting that forthcoming inaugural ASEAN GCC China Summit demonstrates our reservoir of goodwill, empowering us to deepen and expand our partnership and to act with strategic clarity. Above all, we must preserve the multilateral system and ensure that ASEAN GCC China geoeconomic model continues to play a meaningful role in forging a more inclusive and sustainable future for our region and our people. Last month, President Donald Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs, which saw ASEAN nations start talks with Washington. He called on Asian leaders to work further within the bloc to expand business transactions so as to respond to future abrupt market shocks as handed out by the current U.S. tariff regime. The summit is to last for 2 days, and a communique regarding the final stance taken by the bloc is expected. In other news, in response to Trump, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said Iran will be able to survive if negotiations with the U.S. over its nuclear program fail to secure a deal. It's not like we will die of hunger if they refuse to negotiate with us or impose sanctions, Pezeshkian was quoted as saying about the nuclear talks with Washington. Analysts say the stakes are high for both sides in the talks. Trump wants to curtail Tehran's potential to produce a nuclear weapon that could trigger a regional nuclear arms race and perhaps threaten Israel. Iran, on its part, maintains that its nuclear program is exclusively for civilian purposes and wants to get rid of devastating sanctions on its oil-based economy. Iranian and U.S. delegations wrapped up a fifth round of talks in Rome last week, and while signs of some limited progress emerge, there are many points of disagreement that are hard to breach, notably the issue of Iran's uranium enrichment. News agencies try to find out about reports that Iran could freeze uranium enrichment for 3 years to reach an agreement. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Bagay responded that Iran will never accept that. He also ruled out possibility of an interim nuclear deal with the U.S. Iran is only now waiting for further details from mediator Oman regarding the timing of the sixth round of talks, as it has laid bare its conditions to reach a nuclear deal. Kolom Muhammad, NTAi News.
Authorities in India's southern Kerala state have issued an alert after a ship carrying oil and hazardous cargo leaked and sank off the state's coast in the Arabian Sea. The spill occurred in Liberian-flagged vessel that capsized near Kochi city on Sunday. The coastal stretch is rich in biodiversity and is also an important tourist destination. All 24 crew members on board the ship have been rescued, but some of the ship's 640 containers have reportedly been drifting towards the shore, prompting evacuations in the area. Authorities fear that oil, fuel and other harmful substances that have leaked from the ship and its cargo could endanger the health of residents and marine life. The pomp and pageantry will be on full display when King Charles arrives in Canada for the first time since his coronation. He is due to deliver the speech from the throne to open the 45th session of Canada's Parliament in Ottawa on Tuesday. The King is the head of state of Canada and of 13 other Commonwealth realms, such as Australia, New Zealand, and several Caribbean states, as well as the UK. The King, who will be traveling with Queen Camilla, previously journeyed to Canada several times as the Prince of Wales. This is his 20th visit. This address is traditionally given by the Governor-General, who is the monarch's top representative in Canada. They read it on behalf of the Prime Minister to set out the government's agenda when a new parliamentary session is about to begin. It is so called because it is typically read from the seat in the Senate chamber that is reserved for the monarch or their representative in Canada. Nigeria stands with the African Union member states and the entire African continent to mark Africa Day 2025 with the theme Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations. This was the statement issued by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimebi Ebianfa, who reaffirms Nigeria's dedication to continental unity, sustainable development, and amplifying the African continental free trade area to promote intra-African trade, technological innovations, and climate resilience, among other transformative frameworks initiated by the African Union. He says it is noteworthy to celebrate strides in education, healthcare, and infrastructure, while calling for global cooperation to address the challenges of poverty, inequality, and conflict, to drive equitable progress through strengthening global partnerships and elevating Africa's voice. Now, Ghana has temporarily shut down its embassy in Washington, D.C. after a major corruption scandal involving visa and unauthorized payments were uncovered by a special audit. Kulo Mohammed has more.
Foreign Affairs Minister Samla Blakwa announced the decision on Monday, describing it as a necessary step to restore integrity and accountability in Ghana's diplomatic mission abroad. This is part of a decisive effort to restructure and overhaul embassy operations following shocking audit findings. The minister said, with support from the president, they are taking the bold action to fight corruption and rebuild trust. The audit revealed that one Fred Kwateng, a locally hired IT officer at the embassy since 2017, created an unauthorized link on the embassy's website. This link redirected visa and passport applicants to his private company, Ghana Travel Consultants, where they were charged unofficial fees ranging from $29 to $60. These payments, which were not approved under Ghana's Fees Act, were deposited directly into Kwateng's personal bank account. Investigators believe the fraudulent scheme operated undetected for at least 5 years. The case has been referred to Ghana's Attorney General for possible prosecution and recovery of misused public funds. Kulo Mohammed, NTAi News.
The federal government says addressing inaccessibility to uninterrupted power supply among 80 million Nigerians is relatively feasible, owing to the huge amounts of funds, resources and commitments being invested in the sector. This was the key point raised during the opening ceremony of the 6th meeting of National Council on Power, organized by the Federal Ministry of Power in collaboration with Borno State Government, being held in Maiduguri. Abubakar Musa reports.
Just as the theme of the program implies, consolidating reforms for a sustainable energy future in Nigeria, the convergence of critical stakeholders in the power sector here is basically to engage in far-reaching deliberations, suggestions, comments, observations, as well as questions and answers on how best to provide the needed change in the power sector across Nigeria. During different plenary sessions, Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu, represented by his permanent secretary Mahmoud Mamman, expressed concern over the large proportion of Nigerians that are confronted with inaccessibility to uninterrupted power supply, describing the National Council on Power as a game changer in changing the narrative.
At the end of this meeting, we'll come up with meaningful policies and strategies that Nigerians can get electricity. That is our promise, and that is what the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President is, and that is what all of us are here to achieve.
Other key issues outlined include strengthening subnational collaboration, pathways to energy transition and access, maintaining liquidity for sustaining generation companies, as well as bridging capacity and gender gaps in the power sector. Others are safeguarding power infrastructure in high-risk areas, improving grid coordination and operational efficiency, as well as strengthening distribution companies' performance. The 6th meeting of the National Council on Power, which can best be described as a paradigm shift in the power sector in Nigeria, is expected to last for 4 days. In Maiduguri, Abubakar Musa, NTAi News.
To fully harness the benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is collaborating with the United Nations Development Programme to secure up to 75% discount on cargo flights from Nigeria to East and Southern Africa through Uganda Airlines. Here is the report.
Nigeria is intensifying efforts to position itself as a leading exporter within the continent. And to achieve this target, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment has unveiled the East and Southern Africa Market Intelligence Tool, a digital platform designed to guide MSMEs towards viable markets. Earlier, the ministry had initiated the Nigeria East-Southern Africa Freight Corridor, easing logistics and reducing trade barriers for local businesses.
We're telling businesses in Nigeria what is in demand in Southern Africa, 13 Southern and Eastern African countries. And we're telling them what the regulatory environment is, what you want, if it's your plantain chips, if it's your zobo, whatever it is, your textiles, your fashion, your wigs, we're telling them who wants what. and we're backing it up with a flat cargo rate that has reduced the cost from 50 to 75%.
Of Nigeria, we launched her AFCFTA, which is basically how women can trade within the context of AFCFTA. And so we kind of encourage women to connect some more.
Nigeria. At the moment, we cover 17 destinations through NTAi, and the reason why we came through here is to connect Nigeria through other destinations, through East Africa.
These initiatives represent bold and deliberate steps towards enhancing Nigeria's manufacturing capacity and reinforcing its role in intra-African trade. Maria Adu-Zakari, NTAi News.
You're watching news at 7 on NTAi International. Time to take a break. Do stay. You're welcome back. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has withdrawn the compulsory voting bill, which he co-sponsored with Representative Daniel Asama from Plateau State. The proposed legislation to amend the Electoral Act 2022 to make voting mandatory for all eligible Nigerians had passed second reading on the floor of the House, generating debate and public reactions. Speaker Tajuddin, in a statement, however, says the decision to withdraw the bill follows extensive consultations with a broad spectrum of stakeholders, as well as respect for individual freedoms and public sentiments. He notes that the bill was introduced with the best of intentions to promote civic engagement and higher voter turnout, but also acknowledges that lawmaking is ultimately about the people it serves and their rights. Rather than compel civic participation, the Speaker says he is committed to exploring innovative approaches to make voting more attractive and accessible to all Nigerians, as the withdrawal of the bill will allow for further dialogue. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu described 15-year-old Nigerian autistic artist Kanyachukwu Okeke as a gifted boy with a brilliant mind. This was when he visited her office after recently making history by painting and unveiling the world's largest art canvas. State House correspondent NTAi reports.
An aura of triumph radiating on his face, Kanyachukwu Okeke made his way into the office of Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu, accompanied by his parents. The young autistic artist made headlines after defying his condition to earn a place in the Guinness World Records by painting and unveiling the world's largest art canvas titled "Impossibility is a Myth." His meeting with the First Lady took off on a warm note as they shared a hug, a social gesture said to be rare for autistic children.
I think he likes me already. I like him too.
Applauding Kanyachukwu's accomplishment, the First Lady describes his success as not just a personal win, but a clarion call for more inclusion of children with special needs.
Autism actually, and even mental health, happens in the lives of very brilliant children. So you just have to pay attention. And this would also send a message with other parents. Because in Nigeria, when it comes to mental health, we tend to take it otherwise. And you know, their interest is always single, and you have to just push with it.
While showering the young artist with gifts, their First Lady equally praised the tenacity of his parents for paying the price to ensure that the boy lives his dream.
And the money we gave is towards his education and whatever he wants to do, and you can put it into good use for him.
Kanyachukwu was led to the First Lady's office by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy, Mukhtar Yawali Muhammad.
The artwork was created to promote autism acceptance and support for individuals on the spectrum, with proceeds from the event going to the Ziba Foundation.
Her acknowledgement, her gift, her support, because she pledged support for Kanye and for children. You can tell from the Renewed Hope agenda how passionate she is about children and youth and women.
Kanyachukwu achieved this feat on November 24, 2024, surpassing the previous record of 9,652 square meters set in 2022. In the State House, NTAi News.
Congratulations to Kanye. Now, the federal government's renewed hope agenda on health continues with an upward trajectory as about 8 infrastructural landmark projects were inaugurated as the Federal Medical Center, Abeokuta. Lekon Agbondi reports that the Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Isiaka Dekule Salako, inaugurated the project, which climaxes the 8-year tenure of the Chief Medical Director of the health institution, Professor Adewale Musaulumu.
In the 8 years of the outgoing CMD of the Federal Medical Center, Abeokuta, infrastructure development remains part of the mainstay of the administration. As the tenure climaxes, inauguration of laudable infrastructure projects continues as unforgettable investment legacies. This works and maintenance 2-story building named after Governor Dapo Abiodun, the block of Consultants Story Building named in honor of former Governor of Ogun State, Olusegun Oshoba, the 100-bedded Abdulaziz Sanusi Amosun and 80-bedded Rafatu Sanusi Amosun buildings facilitated by former Governor of Ogun State in honor of his late parents, and other projects named after prominent individuals in recognition of their contributions are key. The exploits of the Chief Medical Director, the Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Isiaka Salako, says are mirrors of the vision of President Bola Tinubu in providing efficient, qualitative and affordable healthcare for Nigerians.
In the last 2 years, the federal government has therefore established additional 12 new tertiary health facilities. This is a strategic decision to match tertiary health facilities with the growing population of our country and provide an avenue of care for the growing burden of non-communicable diseases.
I'm glad to announce donation of the Model College Onijogo to be used as a take-off infrastructure for this prestigious University of Health Sciences, Abeokuta.
Professor Musa Olomu is happy and proud of his administration's achievements made possible by the support of government and stakeholders.
During the COVID era, the federal government asked us to build 10-bedded ICU, but we saw that the money was enough to build a 20-bedded. So we have 20-bedded ICU in this hospital, well equipped.
In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbondi, NTAi News.
Those in rural areas with lower education levels experienced uneven implementation of policies due to underfunding and inaccessibility. This was the finding as the official release of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act Implementation Survey Report 2025, carried out by Invictus Africa, marking the 10th anniversary of the VAP Act in Nigeria. Here is Haman Jabani with the story.
Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act is said to be Nigeria's most comprehensive legislation addressing violence in both public and private life. It bridges critical gaps in key criminal laws in Nigeria by prohibiting violence against persons, ensuring effective protection and remedies for survivors, and prescribing penalties for perpetrators. To assess the effective implementation of the VAP Act, Invictus Africa conducted a nationwide survey involving 11,612 respondents alongside key informal interviews with relevant government actors. The assessment was structured around 4 key themes: public awareness, enforcement system, support services, and coordinating mechanism, as it aimed to present critical insight and analysis, highlighting implementation gaps and offer actionable recommendations to strengthen implementation.
A decade after the VAP Act, we must move from intention to action, from passage to protection. This data gives us the clarity we need to build a safer, more just Nigeria for all.
To close the gap between law and life reality, experts are calling for urgent strategic action.
And for us in NAPTIP, the DG ensures that public enlightenment is always at the forefront.
Beyond just a law, it's beyond just protecting people's integrity and dignity. So if we take it from that premise, we'll be more committed to this.
The finding shows that as of March 2025, 32 states have signed and gazetted the act, with 4 states, Borno, Jigawa, Katsina, and Kogi, signing into law but yet to gazette it, while Kano is yet to pass it. Hamad Jabani, NTAi News.
Tuesday's weather forecast is next. And that does it on the news at this time. Shegun Ajayi was the sign language interpreter, and I am Lami Ali. Do have a good evening.